Murder Mr. Cochin. True. Murder weapon, the killing of Damascus, the statue. True. Press. Impenetrable? I should hardly think so. You'd have seen the top of the wall between the two countries, right? Who in the world could cross over then? Yeah, not even I could climb over that thing with that barbed wire. The only way to enter into the embassy is through the doors and the Theatrum Neutralis. So the only way for the knife and the prima duct statue to traverse the two countries is through those security camera-equipped, well-guarded doors. That's not true, though. Like, we already know that's false. Was Francisca really the only person to have traveled between the two countries? According to the guards at both doors, she's the only one to go back and forth. The sis there was in Albahest when the thief showed up. And just before you guys found Mr. Coach's body, she entered Bob Hall. I think we can assume that's when she brought the knife into Bob Hall. And how do you explain the prima duct statue? I haven't quite figured that out yet. However, the fact that the two weapons crossed the border proves that the killer must have also traveled across the country lines. The only thing that crossed the border are the prima duct statue and the knife. I should hardly think that those are the two only items Agent Lang. Used in the murder weapon. The only thing. Oh, man, this. That should count. Fuck off. There is a flaw. There's someone literally going across. Fuck off. Ugh. It should be. The only thing to cross the border are the knife and the statue. Oh, this one was too, because they switched. Okay. I still would argue the other one works too, but fuck off, dude. Agent Lang, those two items are not the only two to cross the border tonight. Oh. The Master II was killed with the Bob Hall's prima duct statue, yes? But if that's the case, then tell me, where did Albahest's prima duct statue go? To Bobo. Precisely. And if the two statues really were switched, then this means that both statues were smuggled across the border at some point. Which means that a total of 3 items were smuggled across the embassies, at a bare minimum. I guess so. But you know what? I don't give a fuck. It doesn't matter the number of items, only that the sis is the only one who could have done it. Because the only person who went back and forth between Albahest and Bobo is her. Is that really true? Was there no one else who traveled between the two countries? Actually, there was definitely another person. One who paid a visit to both sides of the wall. Yes! Thank you! I wanted to present this earlier. So really so, Agent Lang. Ha ha ha! What a lousy time to try and bluff your way out of this. I checked out what the guard said along with the security camera's footage. You're not going to overturn my hypothesis that easily. Well, how is she moving the statue? It's huge. But suppose there was some other way other than through the theater doors. What other way? The other entity that managed to cross the border unharmed. If I pointed out, it would open up a whole new possibility. And though I hesitate to bring this out, as long as this entity exists, the impossible road becomes a possibility. Looks like you got some clever ideas in mind. I do, and I can show it to you through a single piece of evidence. Fine then. Let's see this piece of evidence that will show me this other route. This piece of evidence will show it. Agent Lang, I'm sure you're familiar with this unforgettable photo. That supernatural photo, like I said before. Humans can't fly. No, of course not. I understand that perfectly well. And don't start claiming that Sheena somehow grew wings either. I wouldn't dream of claiming that. I won't allow you to take what you've said back. I'll say it again, it's not humanly possible to fly through the air without wings. So you'd better have a good explanation for this, Mr. Prosecutor. The wire. But how can I prove who it was that flew through the air in this photo? Wait, not humanly possible. Eureka! Very well, you will have your explanation. Sounds like you have a good idea simmering inside that head of yours. Let's hear it. The face hidden within this photo's blurry trailed shadow is... The face hidden, face. Wait, could it be Koshin? No, could it? I mean, it's coming from that area. It would kind of make sense. But, like, I feel like it's just the wire that I have to present here. It says face, though. That's what's really kind of fucking with me right now. It should just be this wire. Take that. This is face behind the oh, face. Yeah, it's not face. Fuck off. Better have a good explanation. I can make heads or tails of what you're trying to say. Was I wrong? Come on, hurry up. Oh yeah, because I feel like it's like a zip line, right? Even if I had barked at it, I would have gladly done so. I need to go over it one more time. The man-shaped shadow that flew through the air, wrapped in the darkness of the night. Its real shape can only be this one thing. Okay, fuck off. It would have to be this thingy, right? Take that. Okay. Naturally, the shadow is the third smuggled object, the Prima Duck statue replica. Though I don't know how you sent it across like that. You can't be serious. The thief, or rather Callisto, you dressed as Agent Hoshina and was inside Bob Hall. She dressed the replica statue up in clothes and launched it through the air. Huh, Mr. Prosecutor! You left out a very crucial bit of in your explanation. I know I did. She launched it through the air. How exactly did she do that? He's literally baring his fangs at me. But he has a point. How exactly did it move through the air like that? I have no fucking clue. As long as this remains unsolved, we won't be able to move any closer to the truth. That's why I say it's like a zip line. Which reminds me, didn't he say this earlier? It says, I remember that just before Ambassador Alba gave his speech, he called you into his office, right? So just before the murder, Francisco was called here, right into this very room. If that's the case, then that may be another avenue I can pursue. Agent Lang, in order for me to answer that question, I will need to hear the testimony from Miss Von Karma. Oh, what are you up to now, pretty boy? Earlier, you mentioned something of interest to me. You said that just before the murder occurred, Miss Von Karma had been in this room before Ambassador Alba had called for her. And for that reason alone, you believe her to be the killer. Yeah, I guess I did say something like that. In that case, I believe it is my duty to ask her what her side of the story is. Do you really think a criminal would tell us the honest truth? How dare you? As I've said numerous times, there's absolutely no proof that I'm the killer. Miles Edgeworth, don't tell me you suspect me too. I don't. However, I can't ignore the fact that you were in the room at one point in time. Which is why I would like to hear about your movements in this room. Francisca, I feel that I still don't have enough information. Which is why your testimony is incredibly important to the outcome of this case. Alright. So what would you like me to talk about? I'd like you to please testify to your movements in this room until the murder occurred. Alright, let's try this your way for a change. But if what she has to say turns out to be a waste of time, it's your fucking ass. I'll place her under arrest faster than you can howl. No! As you wish. Albast. As I said earlier, I was assigned to guard duty in the Albahastian embassy. After I saw the steel samurai off on his way towards the ambassador's office, I returned to the Rose Garden for a bit and checked up on the security situation. After all the preparations were in place, I was called back to Ambassador Alba to his office. Francisca, I want us to make this very clear from the very beginning. So what I wish to confirm is that the only time and span in which you were in this office was before the murder occurred. Is that correct? Oh, yes, of course. I see. For now, the only way that I can see for us to break out for this situation is to ask Francisca about her testimony in more detail. Press everything. As I said earlier, I was assigned to guard duty after I saw the steel samurai off his way towards the ambassador's office. Tell me about that. So you were at the theater as well? Yes, I suppose you were also there as well, watching that stage show. Well, yes. Well, after the show was over and I saw the steel samurai off, I returned to the Rose Garden for a bit and checked up on the security situation. After all the preparations were in place, I was called back to Ambassador Alba to his office. Tell me about his office. At that time, Demas II's body had yet to be found in his room. Is that correct? That's right. But Ambassador Alba was here. One could hardly miss his rather large presence. A criminal will say anything to get out of getting arrested. How do you know you're not lying? How do we know? Well, if you need proof, I'd be happy to oblige you. Seriously? Like I keep telling you. When I arrived at his office, Ambassador Alba was already here. He was standing by the flower box in the windowsill, watering his plants. I can attest to that. I remember speaking with the lovely lady around that time here in my office. Grrr. All right then. Add that statement to your testimony. And let's hear some details. So Ambassador Alba was in this room at the time, was he? Watering flowers. For the sake of being thorough, I'd like to ask you something. How did you know that Ambassador Alba was watering his plants at the windowsill? What do you mean by that? The entrance to this room is on this side, however the opposite is on the window. The window is on the opposite side. If what you say is true, then when you entered the room, his body would have been like a wall. He could have been blocking your view of what he was doing. He would have been, isn't that not correct? I suppose it was a bit hard to see around him. But fortunately for me, Ambassador Alba is not an immovable wall. I knocked before I entered, and as I did, he turned around to greet me, with a watering can in his hand. So it's only natural to believe that he's watering his plants, right? I suppose so. After his greeting, we spent a little time talking about his flowers. He had obtained them himself and is growing them with the utmost care, you know. Yes. The plants in this room, they are all like my children. The passion flowers in the flower box and the windowsills are growing beautifully too. All 4 of them are in full bloom. 4. Miss Von Karma, what did you just say now? I said that the flowers are growing beautifully. What about that statement do you not understand? What do I not understand? I do not understand why a thing is the way it is. I'd like for you to append that statement to your testimony. Very well. Present. No, there's not. There's only 2. I don't know how this is going to help, though. Francisco, for some odd reason, your testimony contradicts with this piece of evidence. It does appear that way. I knew it. I knew you could trust your words, sis. Mr. Edgeworth, what are you doing discrediting Miss Von Karma like this? Yeah, sir. If you keep this up, she's going to get taken away, sir. No, the point is that she's not lying. that there used to be 4 in there. But then, after she left, something happened. Yeah. All I've done is state what I saw. I've made not a single mistake in my testimony, and for this I am still under suspicion for murder. Is the number of flowers really all that important at this juncture, Miles? At the very least, there's a contradiction in this enigmatic case. One that I find hard to dismiss as irrelevant.
Now let's hear it, Mr. Prosecutor. What does the number of flowers have to do with anything? What does it prove?
I believe the answer to that will become clear if we were to examine that flower box. How did this contradiction come about? There must be something behind this discrepancy. They're my beloved flowers. I've grown them with the utmost care. So I ask that you please be gentle with them as you examine them, Miles Edgeworth. I understand. Won't rest until I've inspected every suspicious nook and cranny. Thank you. First, watering can. This watering can has a rather robust design. Mr. Edgeworth, why are you telling us stuff we can clearly see for ourselves? Plus, if we keep wasting time talking about that, Miss Von Karma's gonna get arrested. I better examine something else. Examine. The name of these flowers, I believe they're called passion flowers. Despite being called flowers, they're usually species of vine. They appear to be growing well and are well supported by these plant supporters.
Yeah, but no matter how I look at it, it looks like there are only 2 here to me. You realize, don't you, sis? Your little lie has failed you.
Miles Edgeworth, hurry up and shut this man up for me already. I suppose I will need to use this evidence to shut him up, won't I? Don't have to show evidence. I don't have any. Not yet, I still have a thing or two left to examine. There you go. Now I can. This patch of soil looks as though it has been removed from it.
Now what are you doing, Mr. Prosecutor? Why do you clam up all of a sudden? I'm still here waiting for an explanation, you know?
Did you know, Agent Lang, flowers are best appreciated in silence? Looked like 2 things were pulled out of this flower box. This patch of soil, same thing. Yeah, these flowers, okay. Now I can show evidence. I believe I have just the piece of evidence you require.
Oh, do you? You have such a confidence in the face of your current plight. I highly doubt it will last until the end.
You howl like a wolf, Agent Lang. But we'll see if you have any bite to back up that bark after you see the evidence. The truth behind the flowers, these little hair stick things. Sheena, who was supposedly in Bob Hall the entire time, had these hair sticks on her. They weren't hair sticks. They look exactly like the plant supporters in this flower box. In other words, I believe it can be said that these hair sticks are in actuality support sticks for the passion flowers.
Huh, so what? Is that really all that important to the case?
Of course it is. It remains that we found yet another item that was smuggled between the countries tonight.
Ayah!
Think about it logically, Agent Lang. These sticks were originally our behest. But somehow they wound up in Sheena's hands, who was in Bob Hall the whole night. So make no mistake, these sticks were smuggled somehow, just like that knife and statue.
Very well then.
I want to hear from you exactly how they wound up in Bob Hall. How did these support sticks find their way to Bob Hall, and why? There must be some reason as to why they ended up there. Oh, so that's why. Agent Lang, if you would please take a look at this and tell me its shape.
It's just another stick, isn't it?
And so it is, but the shape of the support sticks is what's important. And for when they're used with something in this room, that's when it all comes into focus. And the object that completes the picture when used with the support sticks is. Oh yeah. It's an arrow, baby.
It's a crossbow. Well, you're not really suggesting.
I don't know how that would work. I feel like these aren't strong enough to land into anything. I am. These hair sticks, or rather plant support sticks, they make for perfect arrows. I mean, they can't stick into anything. They're weak.
Ayah!
Like, it can't stick into any brick, rock, metal, glass. There's nothing for it to, like, hold. It's too weak. They aren't, like, sharp metal tips. Or even, like, stone tipped. I've done it. I found the common thread that connects the two offices. But this thread is yet to completely untangle. Even using the arrows, how does this explain how the statues were transported? Furthermore, who could it have been who fired these sticks as arrows? There must be a common thread that ties all these things together.
Mr. Prosecutor, hold up a second. You do realize what happens when you tie a statue to an arrow, right? They don't fly at all.
You obviously shoot it beforehand and it makes a wire. Well, that's what the wire is for.
So Bobo's statue was draped in the thief's clothes, then shot over here. Even if you fired the arrows from this side, they wouldn't go that far with the statue tied to them. I don't think I need to tell you that the prima duck statues don't sprout wings.
No fucking shit, dude.
You're a realist after all, aren't you?
The prima duck statue didn't sprout wings. Of course they didn't.
Glad you understand. I feel much better already. I was afraid for a second that you were unaware of that crucial fact.
It's only crucial because you're under the belief that wings are necessary to this equation.
What?
You need to free your mind a bit more and let it fly like a bird on the wind. The prima duck statue flew not on a wing, allow me a bit of your time, but on a prayer. I'll explain this mysterious phenomenon to you. Yep, that's true. They wouldn't be tied to it, you dumb fuck. But we are in agreement that the arrow by itself would reach the other side, correct?
But just the arrow by itself is pretty meaningless, don't you think, Mr. Prosecutor? Because these things they wanted to smuggle were a lot bigger than nothing.
No, that's not necessarily true.
What?
What I need right now is not further discussion of my conclusions, it's the launching of my conclusions. What the shooter wanted to launch with a crossbow was not the statues themselves, but rather something a crossbow can launch that can be used to move the statues.
And what did the crossbows launch?
Present. Wire. Easy. Done. This giant fucking thing of wire. Finally, we have reached this point in our discussion, for I present to you that which was carried by the arrow from the crossbow.
Huh. I get it now, Mr. Prosecutor. I can see exactly what you were trying to say.
You're saying that the wire was tied to an arrow and then shot into Mr. Coachen's office. Oh yeah, that's right, it's a floor down. Duh. But even then, it's not gonna stick into anything. Unless it hit the chair. That's why it was knocked over. It hit the fucking chair. Yo, fuck.
All the way from the 5th floor of the Albastine Embassy down to the 3rd floor of the Balbalisian Embassy.
Yeah, but it doesn't explain how the statue got up.
If that's what you're claiming is really what happened, I didn't see how Albast's prima duck statue could be moved. Gravity would be used to move the statue down the wire from the 5th to the 3rd floor. Then what about Babao's prima duck statue? The shadow in this photo is clearly flying away from Babao, going in the opposite way of the gravity from the 3rd floor of Balbalisian Embassy. Unless you tied the wire around the statue, that would be like the only way you could like then pull it up. But even then, you'd like really risk losing all tension. You'd have to like mechanically do it to like pull it. Out to the 5th floor of the Albastine Embassy. How do you explain that?
I think I finally see how the gears behind this whole trick works. Agent Lang, the motion used to dirt behind this trick. I wonder if perhaps you have yet to envision how it works in your head. Motion? What motion? This is the motion that was employed to smuggle Baba's statue. Bungee? There's no... Swinging? Rotair. Rotary motion? Like if you like try to like spin it, I guess? I mean, it's not swing. That would just go up and down. And then you'd probably break the wire. I believe it was done via rotary motion. And the two statues were transported simultaneously. Simultaneously get real, the statues would collide somewhere along the way. Did I ever say there was one way, was only one line of wire between the two offices? Yo, what? He shot an arrow with the two ends of the wire tied to it. A circular belt can be formed. Oh, holy fuck. Ah, my brain. Yeah, that makes more sense. And that's the pulling motion. I have no idea how that would even work. Langsy says don't object and call it success. What is beyond reasonability? Take into account the tension difference between the two wires, the top one would sag too much to the point where the statues would collide anyway. Agent Lang, as you know, the Prima Duck statue is a one-of-a-kind national treasure. In fact, the Baval statue is a hollow replica of the real statue. It would naturally be lighter than the real one, meaning that my idea is very possible. Lindsay says, shut the fuck up. Oh! Here's what I believe happened. This is wild. Miss Yu and her mystery co-conspirators set themselves up in two different rooms. The co-conspirator bridged the rooms by shooting the two ends of the wire down on one arrow. Then the two of them covered the statues and proceeded to transport the statues. After the switch was completed, another arrow was fired, carrying the other end of the wire down to Bob Hall, where it was to be disposed of. And to do that, Miss Yu hid it inside the grandfather clock. QED! Huh. What the fuck's a QED? This proves it, right, Agent Lang? I'm not the killer. No yet, sis. I still haven't had my dessert yet. How? Right, Miss Prosecutor? The proof is in the pudding, as it were. Pudding is a nice dessert. So, do you think you can do it? Can you prove what you said is what happened? Because remember, if you can't, I'll be taking a certain someone back home with me as a souvenir. I agree that as long as there's no proof, my hypothesis remains just that. What proof?